Today, I learned business English vocabulary from Fluent English for Work with TV series. In this video clip, Ethan has talked about some ways to use English efficiently and professionally at work, divided into different sections such as negotiation, interview, presentation, or meeting. They are very useful, very natural, and there's some techniques in meeting. In interview that I can apply for myself when I go for the interview for a new job. Okay, let's dive into the clip and study tons of great words, great vocabularies from Ethan. First of all, we need to know workforce. What is workforce? In the clip, there is an example that you found offensive in the workforce, in the workplace. Workplace is a place that people work, such as a factory, a company, an office. And people who work in that workplace is called a workforce. We just find 1/3 of their workforce. Some words that we can use in meetings. Let's talk meetings now. In companies, people arrange meetings to brainstorm ideas, find solutions to problems, and figure out courses of action on a certain activity. Let's talk. Commonly used in business settings, about is omitted. Let's talk business. Let's talk money. Let's talk races. To brainstorm. In a brainstorm meeting, people produce ideas and ways of solving problems. To arrange a meeting, which means to organize one. Similarly, when you call a meeting, you decide a meeting is necessary. Michael Blood had called a meeting with the family's longtime attorney. To hold a meeting means to direct a meeting. In a more casual term, you can say to run a meeting. You want me to run a meeting for you or something? Then you attend a meeting, which is a formal alternative to simply saying go to a meeting. We said that in the meetings, people try to figure out or define a course of action. This is a set of actions to be taken. People often also say plan of action or POA for short. In such cases, it's always a safe option to start your statement with in my opinion or from a point of view. If you want to say a strong opinion, you could say, for example, to be perfectly frank, I think we should terminate the contract on account of that. They fail to deliver the goods on time. Terminate, bring to an end, to finish, to terminate a contract, a relationship, on account of that. Formal, because fail to deliver. If you fail to do something, you don't do it. Your end of a promise. To deliver means to provide a service, goods, things that are produced in order to be sold. Presentations, some words that we use in presentations. Like meetings, the RAM of presentations is very wide-ranging, and we can only hope to scratch the surface with this lesson. RAM of a general area of knowledge, activity, or thought, wide-ranging, including many different ideas, actions, or things. Scratch the surface, explain briefly without details. So in the presentation, we want to try home to the point. That means to make clearly understood, to make a point. And we can use a lot of words to impress that point, to get people's attention when talking about that point, like a lot, really very. But if we keep using those words, it will make people bored and lose their attention. So there are some other options that we can apply when we do the presentation. First of all, we go to a quiz. Which of these can we not use as an alternative to very or a lot? Painfully, fully, heavily. In reality, 3 of them are able to replace very or a lot. Trick question, all of these are actually great alternatives to use. Painfully, fully, heavily. Painfully, as in it's painfully obvious, clear, evident, apparent. But it is painfully obvious that he had a huge hand in it. You could say fully in collocations such as fully aware, accept, understand, fully booked, informed, etc. Good news, the majority of the nation's networks are fully operational, and you know full well it wasn't the Chinese. I truly believe that a woman should be in charge of what happens to her body. You could say heavily in collocations like heavily involved, criticized, dependent, reliant, influenced. He had been heavily influenced by the Star Wars film and he had endeavored to recreate his favorite moments. This area is heavily dependent on contraband and truck running, and unfortunately, the US has no intelligence or diplomatic presence there. Lastly, you could say sharply to describe a rise or drop in a presentation about numbers. Oil prices fell sharply. These measures could sharply reduce pollution from road traffic. Talking about numbers is another significant component of business presentations. We need to become familiar with ways we can use to describe, compare, and contrast numbers and interpret and explain charts. To describe a decline or decrease in numbers, you could use drop, fall, or dip. Their share of the market dropped to 50% this year. Prices fell sharply yesterday. Profits dipped slightly last year. But if numbers experience a sharp decrease, you could say slump, crash, collapse, or plummet. The housing prices continue to plummet, and the economists say it may take quite some. In the recession, the company's profits plunged 60%. Sales slumped by 20% last year. To describe an increase in numbers, you can use climb, rise, and go up. The divorce rate has risen steadily since the 1950s. The divorce rate has risen steadily since the 1950s. To describe a stronger rise, you could use surge, rocket, soar, go through the roof, jump. Online sales have surged because of the pandemic. Sales of their new CD have gone through the roof. Job interviews. In a job interview, you want to speak briefly and relevantly to the job. I thrive on challenges. I work well under pressure. I would describe myself as detail-oriented and proactive. Then when asked about your interest in the job, you could say you want to take on more responsibility. Do you know what the phrasal verb take on means? Undertake. That's right. Take on means to undertake a task or responsibility, especially a difficult one. Great, I'm ready to take on more responsibility around here. You could say I'm a benefit fit for this job because that's nice of you to say, but I'm not the right fit for the place like that. Negotiations. Coming to negotiations, that's a time that you get the job, and now you come to the step of dealing with salary, benefit, vacation, holiday, etc. So there's a term which is very familiar when doing the negotiation. It is called compromise. I meet someone in the middle. That means each person needs to adjust their end expectation a little bit to meet the other person's to meet some so both of them can meet each other at the middle. For example, you want to sell something for 100 and people just willing to pay 50 bucks. So both of you guys like adjust your end a little bit and meet up at $75. Now, when things are moving along in the negotiation and you make an offer, you would say the ball is in their court, which means that it's their turn to either accept the offer or make a counter offer. In other words, make an offer that's different. We've made him an offer, but now he has to decide whether to accept. The ball is in his court. You're ready to sign on the dotted line. That means you are ready to sign an offer and get a job. Okay, that's it for today.